we're here with Melissa Bueller. She is a beef producer. Y'all are in Fairbury, is that correct?
Yep, Fairbury, Nebraska.
So tell us a little bit about your background and your operation.
Well, my family's had purebred Herefords for over 50 years, and we also raise a few Simmental and crossbred cows as well. But the main bulk of the operation is Hereford cattle, and we've been at Fairbury for over 30 years. Started out in Alma, Nebraska, a little more central Nebraska there for a long time, and then moved to Fairbury. So I've grown up around the cattle industry my whole life, and I've sold feed and pharmaceuticals back right out of college, so I've been around it on that side as well. And I guess we show a lot as well. So sell bulls, sell females, and just mainly do the cow-calf operation. We don't feed out a ton of cattle, but when we do, it's, I don't want to say that. We feed out some cattle to sell locally, and then also send some to the feed yard as well. So,
But when you're producing seed stock, the seed stock then is producing those commercial calves, and so that sector is very familiar to you from the standpoint of what you're producing is what's going to produce the genetics for what's going to be fed.
Yep. Yeah, we want our customers to make money just as bad as we want to make money. So we're trying to sell them genetics that'll perform in the feedlot and in the commercial cow-calf sector as well.
Yep, and hang in that cooler.
Absolutely.
And so
I'm scared her necklace is rubbing on that mic.
Oh, I can take it off if you want me to.
I think I'm low enough, but I just hate to do all of this and make you redo it.
Okay. Probably need to anyway. Things like this made me glad I did speeches as a kid.
yeah. So you want to start over or no? Okay.
Just go.
Okay.
All right.
So, when we start talking about this tool, and obviously you have your own cattle, you have worked in pharmaceutical industry, so you've been around all the different things with veterinarians and cattle feeders and alike. What are some of the first things that come to your mind when you hear about a tool like what we're putting together here through Everag Data Labs?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. First of all, as a beef producer, I can see a lot of value in the product, especially for feedlot managers. But as you send a pen of cattle to a feedlot and say you want to retain ownership on that pen of cattle, I think the value of being able to forecast their end dates and what types of drugs they might need or how much their feed ration is going to change throughout their time in the pen is just, it's priceless.
Yep.
And we want to be able to make money too on retained cattle in the feed yard just as much as the feedlot manager does. So I think it's really going to help producers from that standpoint, but especially the feedlot managers as they're making a lot of big decisions on how to manage these cattle.
Yeah, you bring up a point that we haven't talked about that was really, really crucial, because there's a ton of cattle in this country that are fed on either retained ownership or custom cattle feeding. And I would want to have a place to feed cattle that's going to be using the best predictive models and the best information. And so as you're putting it into your Rolodex, if you're a feed yard manager, you're like, well, how do I attract these customers?
Yeah.
Well, helping them make the best decisions to make their cattle the most profitable is probably the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we work with HRC Feed Yard out in western Kansas a lot with the feeding certified Hereford beef. And those guys do a great job of feeding Herefords, and it's just a little bit different than feeding some of these different breeds of cattle. And so, being able to use those predictive measures on, say, a Hereford pen versus a Simmental or Charolais pen, I think that makes a huge difference too for those of us in a different breed that maybe our cattle feed differently.
Definitely going to have different endpoints.
Absolutely.
Definitely going to have different technology opportunities.
Yep.
So as we look at that, you can see that where this could really, because now we're getting down to the details.
Yeah.
We're pretty good right now at this 30,000 foot, and some people are more granular and able to get down there. But now we're starting to split some hairs.
Mm-hmm.
and it's the difference of being in business and not being in business.
Absolutely. You know, it's the details that matter, and that's really where the margin lies on any of this in the cattle industry. You know, even if you're just selling purebred bulls, that little bit of margin that you might get out of those purebreds or the bulls that you sell compared to what you sell them to as a feeder calf is huge. And so I think, you know, like we said earlier, it's kind of an art to feed cattle, no matter what kind of cattle they are, but having those details in line makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and we back when we started sustainability platforms, everybody thought it was about greenhouse gases and saving the world. And what we're really learning more and more about what sustainable agriculture or sustainability in the beef industry is, it's about staying in business.
Right.
And when we start to look at all these different components, this is the ability to predict not only what's going on in the short term, but it's also the ability to predict who's going to be in business in the long term.
Right.
And that's not to scare anybody, that's to excite people.
Right.
And get on board, jump on the train, because it's leaving the station. And you're going to want to be a part of this.
Absolutely. You know, you're seeing all the breed organizations really focus on genetics right now. And I could see how maybe at some point this in the future, and this is just me guessing, but how the genetics testing that we do as breeders could even play a role into this predictive health situation at some point.
We
So,
can take those SNPs and the genetics and the DNA information, and this can be laid straight into the database and then into the AI. In the future, what we see is moving, the next phase is from the pen level to the individual animal level management. And you're not going to be able to do that without the tool like this.
right. Absolutely. It's super exciting. And when I first heard about it, I was like, now this is cool. This is industry changing technology that's going to help a lot of people. And as a producer, I'm very, very excited about it. And I think it's going to do a lot of good things for a lot of people.
Well, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on today.
That's great.